The following high-definition sporting event coverage is a presentation of HDNet. Sports like you've never seen before.
It's a bike race like you've never seen before. The women run a relay for 25 miles and thousands cheer them on through cinder-covered corners to a finish that assures the winners legendary status. They race for fun and for their friends. It's Indiana University's Little 500, the world's greatest college weekend.
From the IU Student Foundation.
It's the Women's Little 500 coming your way live on HDNet Sports from the campus of Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. And hello again, everybody. I'm Jack Edwards. Very happy to be with you at this event that is the first I've ever experienced. And if you've had it up to about here with that sense of self-entitlement from elite athletes, well, you've come to the right place because you're not going to find any of that here today. These athletes are all but anonymous. None are on bike scholarships here at IU. They just want to come out and have a great afternoon for themselves. We're joined by a phenomenal team of analysts. Jason Sonneborn, 4 times in the Little 500. You're in the top 5 twice with your teams. You're one of the legendary riders in this thing. What can we expect to see in the women's race today?
Oh, I think we're absolutely going to see a great race, Jack. We have the girl that won the checkered flag last year, Nicole Vincent. She's back. We also have an up-and-coming rider, Brie Kovac, riding for Teter. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a 1-2 battle. You throw in Kappa Gamma. We're going to have a great race, beautiful day. This women's race has been going on for over 15 years, so look for something special today.
Well, from the technical side, this is a very unique event. We have with us one of the elite riders in U.S. history, Dylan Casey, longtime teammate of Lance Armstrong on the U.S. Postal Service team, and really uniquely qualified to talk about this event because you're one of only 3 men in history ever to win track championships and road championships in the same year on a national level. But what can you compare to this? I mean, you can go over the county line and not even find anything like this.
Jack, there's nothing in the world of professional cycling that even compares to this. This is a one-of-a-kind event. I'll tell you, these ladies are taking it just as serious as the professional men, and we're going to see a really exciting race today.
It vastly differs from professional racing, though, and we'll get a closer look at the bikes as we go on through this weekend. We really look forward to Dylan's input on this. There's only 1 male and 1 female elected to the Little 500 Hall of Fame each year. We have one of those rare characters, and I do mean characters, in Eddie Van Geis down below. Eddie?
Jack, women's bicycle racing here at Indiana University has come a long way. The Little 500 weekend started in 1951. The women's race for many years was called the Mini 500, and it was a tricycle race. Well, in 1987, Kappa Alpha Theta, 4 women wanted to qualify for the men's event. They did a great job and just missed qualifying. But as a result of their great effort, the women's Little 500 came about here at the stadium in 1988. The field for the race today, they've broken records in the individual time trial, in the team pursuit. This could be the fastest field ever in the women's Little 500. Jack, this is going to be an exciting one.
All right, Eddie, we'll be looking forward to hearing from you down in the pits and in the infield throughout this day. These riders are keenly aware of what this weekend means, not only in the course of this academic year, but also in their lives and the memories that they are going to create in the next couple of hours. We caught up with some of the women who are going to take part in today's Women's Little 500 to get their input on the tradition and the history of this race.
Little 500 is one of IU's biggest traditions. It's been going on for over 50 years now.
The Little 500 is really an interesting event because it's an intramural event, but it's unlike any other intramural event around.
Indiana University has a really strong intramural program, whether that be basketball or football or whatever, but that really pales in comparison to the Little 500.
Honestly, I didn't know much about it coming into school as a freshman, but first time I was here at the race, my freshman year, it just kind of captured me, the whole atmosphere, and just seeing like how much work and dedication these riders put into it.
It was started by a guy named Howie Wilcox. He noticed the high population of students riding bikes around campus, and he decided it'd be a good idea to start a bike race for it.
I'm starting to get a bigger grasp rather than it's just, you know, a fun weekend or out there to ride a bike. Like, it's an amazing event. It raises a ton of money for scholarships. They give out like $34,000 scholarships every year, so it's huge, and it's awesome to be really a part of the history, because it really is a defining moment in IU's history.
The culture of Little 500 IU is like so big. I mean, like I said, it's more than a bike race. I mean, we do this all year round. And the people out here aren't really our competitors, they're more of our friends.
There's a lot of camaraderie involved in the Little 500 race day. You can see just all the fans in the stands, 18, 20,000 people, just all the different colors and everything. It's really special.
Well, just moments away from starting the women's race, you can hear the crowd getting stoked down below. Jason Sonneborn, twice named as an all-star in the Little 500. You know, what do these few hours mean in the course of your entire 4 years at IU?
Well, they absolutely can't be replaced. I mean, these young women down here today have prepped for months and for months. Their coaches, their family, their sorority sisters, everyone's in the stands behind them. There's not too many bike races you'll ever do where you'll have this much support. So stoked is a great word to say, because absolutely, they're on the rivet, they're ready to go today, Jack.
All right, but Dylan Casey, there is a limit to everybody's cardiovascular endurance. Sometimes adrenaline might get the better of you. What can we look for on these bikes? They're single gear bikes on a cinder track.
Yeah, you're right, Jack. You know, it's really important that the coaches kind of temper the riders and like make them realize that hey, you got 100 laps to go here. So let's like maintain a certain focus here on the finish line and not the first couple of laps. So I'm really looking to these girls to do like about 10, 15 laps at a time.
Perhaps the best thing about college sports is the raw emotion that you see. We will see plenty of that here today in Bloomington, Indiana. It's the women's Little 500 kicking off the world's greatest college weekend.
The 32 teams in the 17th annual Women's Little 500. The green jersey to the pole team. Team number 1, Kappa Kappa Gamma, corporate sponsor, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Kelsey Cooper, Allison Edwards, Meredith Horner, and Jessica Sack. On the inside of row 1, team number 2, Alpha Gamma Delta.
Can you see this,
Sponsor is Target. Corey Bitzer, Kate Burnett, Megan Giovanni, and Vicky Holzaker. On the outside of row 1, team number 3, the defending champion, Kappa Alpha Theta. Eric Precast, the corporate sponsor, Catherine Ann Beyer, Lee Gray, Elizabeth Melby, and Nicole Vincent. Row 2, on the inside, team number 4, Teter Women. Scion is the corporate sponsor, Catherine Douglas, Mia Dragon, Brianna Kovac, and Jessica Lindemann. Team number 5 on the inside of row 2, Delta Zeta. Corporate sponsors, Marathon.
I think people look forward to it all year long. The riders train for it since they train all summer, some of them do, and then all fall, winter, and spring, and it's just kind of, it's just a building up of excitement until the race.
I tend to kind of tone things down in the spring, knowing that I want to focus on
Stephanie Govert, Allison Lafferty, and Rudy Romain. We come now to row 3. Team number 7, Speed, TIAA Kraft, the corporate sponsor, Bailey Hammond, Sarah Kraft.
It has turned into a beautiful afternoon in Bloomington, Indiana. After showers most of yesterday, wet down this cinder track, but it looks like a reasonably quick track. Jason Sonneborn, they are introducing each of the athletes as they come to the start-finish line, and it's a pretty day on the bike. This is a long process, and of course these teams have to qualify, and that's what ranks them with the numbers you'll see on their cycling jerseys.
Yeah, it truly is a special day, Jack. These women, have, like I've said earlier, they've trained for months and months. A lot of them are showing up to the start line for the first time. And as Dylan knows, you know, those first race jitters are like no other. I'm sure, you know, they've gone to the bathroom frequently and they're trying to stay hydrated. There's lots of things they're trying to do. Dylan, what's it like showing up for your first race? This little 500 is as big as the Tour de France to Lance.
It sure is. I'll tell you, these ladies, you know, they've been thinking about their preparation. They've got a whole schedule set out about what they're going to do in the hours and the minutes leading up to the start. And you know, it's really important to pay attention to how much energy you spend before the actual race starts.
Well, once they do start the race, it's going to be all out all the time. And it isn't just one afternoon. This race is the target of an entire academic year of preparation.
I think people look forward to it all year long. The riders train for it since they train all summer, some of them do, and then all fall and winter and spring, and it's just a building up of excitement until the race.
I tend to kind of tone things down in the spring, knowing that I want to focus on Little 5 and just kind of keep my priorities and keep this on top of my list, along with school, I guess. You know.
I spend probably 4 hours a day training, and trying to juggle schoolwork makes that incredibly tough. But you get it done, and actually makes you more productive in the long run.
You go to class, get your ride in, go to the library or somewhere to study after that, and just it's a daily schedule. Keeps on going. It's a routine.
My favorite part is the team, the fact that it's a team sport, and how I've gotten to know 3 incredible girls that I'm gonna be friends with the rest of my life. This sport has helped me to do that.
Winning is a pretty incredible feeling. We won last year, and that was the best feeling I've ever had.
It would just be a whole year's work, maybe 2 years' work, since I've been riding for 2 years, just put together.
I mean, just to be on the track at the race, regardless of if you're winning, if you're losing, it is so emotional. I mean, everybody, just to watch a rider watch a race tape, I mean, it brings you to tears every time. So to have the chance to win would be absolutely incredible.
As the teams are continuing to be introduced, Jason Sonneborn, you had great individual efforts, but even a great individual can't win this race on his or her own.
Yeah, I've spoke with Dylan about this. Unlike a traditional bike race where Lance is on the bike at all times and his teammates are blocking the wind for him, pacing him up the climbs, going back to get bottles. In a lot of cases, these women out here, the team leader is going to have to hand off the bike to someone else. She's going to be sitting in the pit as her teammates are out there on the track doing the work. It's more of a relay race than it really is this type of a stage race or crit or a road race. There's lots of parallels. I don't know, Dylan, do you have any comments on that?
Well, you know, I think it's really interesting, actually, if we can look down on the field. Some of the teams are walking around the track in the introduction with only 3 riders. So they've got one of their riders, who's going to probably be their leadoff rider, down on the wind trainer right now. And I think that's a really interesting point. But, you know, what you're talking about, Jason, is that even if you're a team leader, you really have to depend on your teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to trust your teammates. We do have some individuals that stand out a little bit against the rest of the field today. Bree Kovac, a young lady for Teter, you're going to see her in the black uniform. She set the bar during individual events, which have been held over the previous couple of months. She won the individual time trials and was right there at the end of missing out as well. She's virtually dominated. So look for a big performance out of the team in black, Teter.
Well, it'll be up for grabs when we return. Just moments from getting it going. There is Team Teter. They're getting a sweat going before this thing goes, and it will go green, just like the real Indy 500. It's the little 500 from Bloomington. The Little 500 was started as a men's event in 1951 by the Indiana University Student Foundation as a fundraising method. Through the years, more than $1 million has been doled out to students who work their way through school in assisting them with tuition and books and living costs. And it is not an NCAA event, so there can be sponsors directly involved, and you'll see those sponsor names on the cycling jerseys. Jason, how do those sponsors get attached to these teams?
Well, I think sometimes sponsors can ask to have a team.
and the rare example that maybe somebody works for that company, or of course Indianapolis Motor Speedway is always here to sponsor someone, but in some cases they select, in other cases it's randomly selected. I think one year Cliff Bar was right down the road from us, and we were happy to be close to them. We got a couple free handouts.
Dylan, if you're a cyclist in the United States, you better be good on the bike, but you also better be pretty good off it, scrambling for money wherever you can find it to keep it going. It's not a cheap sport.
Yeah, you're right, Jack. You know, sponsors are really looking to have the athletes and the programs that they represent or sponsor really represent their product well. So you really have to do more than just win bike races these days to get sponsorship.
There's a feel-good notion to this race, though, because as you see the riders coming around the track on their pre-race lap, this all does go toward helping students work their way through school. Let's join public address announcer Chuck Crabb for the pre-race festivities.
Loving God, standing together on this threshold of this year's Little 500, we thank you for the bonds of friendship and teamwork that bring us together. Please bless our riders, adding a spirit of fair play to their gifts of skill and endurance. Help them to be humble in victory and magnanimous in defeat. May they compete in safety to the finish of the race. Bless all who are here to lend their encouragement. When this day is done, give us all a safe journey home, happy memories, and peaceful rest. Dios amoroso, te damos gracias por los bienes de la amistad y el compañerismo que han reunidos a estos equipos. Por favor, bendigas a estas ciclistas. Dales un espíritu del juego limpio. Ayúdalas a ser humildes en la victoria y fuertes en la derrota. Que compitan con su protección hasta el fin de la carrera. Unidos en nuestro amor a ti, oramos por estas cosas. United in our love for you, we pray these things. Amen. Amen. Buena suerte. Good luck.
Father Dan Atkins from St. Paul's Church, which is right behind the press
Presenting your
box here,
colors
about
today,
2
Pershing
turns
Rifles
of
Honor Guard.
crank away. And the
Be watching
presentation
skyward for
colors.
parachuters from Skydive Greenberg, carrying the Little 500 checkered flag, the State of Indiana flag, and the American flag. Please join our riders and coaches in celebrating America's freedom, those who now protect it, and to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Let us pay honor to America. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the women's a cappella group, Ladies First, sing our national anthem. Please, in the infield, be aware of the skydivers coming in. You could be a target.
Should we start? Ready?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare
The Army ROTC women's team was supposed to have a rider named Katie Elkins competing today, but she had to cease her preparation for the women's Little 500 just a week ago because she's been called to active duty. She's going to deploy for Afghanistan on Monday. And it brings things right home here in Indiana. There's the ROTC women's team. We're going to be concentrating a lot on exchanges today, as one rider will get
as the starting riders come to the start-finish line and we get ready for racing, we present Straight No Chaser singing Back Home Again in Indiana.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home. Back home again.
Straight No Chaser, the name of the a cappella men's choir.
Attention in the pit area.
Back home again.
Starting riders, come to the start-finish line and assume the starting grid with your bicycles.
Well, the traditions of this race are closely linked to the traditions of the Indy 500. They line up in 11 rows of 3. Actually, there are just 2 in the back row here. There's only 32 women's teams qualified. But they have a rolling start behind the official Indy 500 pace car. And they have an exact replica of the Borg Warner Trophy that, of course, is part of motor racing legend, the most sought-after trophy. There's the replica that resides here on the IU campus. And it's really kind of neat, all the connections between the Indy 500 and the Little 500. And in fact, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is an official sponsor of one of the teams here.
Yeah, Kappa Kappa Gamma, Jack, and it's a great story because Howdy Wilcox, who was on campus, his father had won the Indianapolis 500 in 1919, and he saw some riders whipping around campus one night on bikes, and he thought to himself, you know, and everyone was hanging out the dorm windows, cheering and whatnot. And he thought to himself, what a great place to have a bike race. And over 50 years later, it's still going on. The women are having a bike race, the men are having a bike race, and there's thousands and thousands of people here to support them. It's a great event.
And if not for the Little 500, would we know who Eddie Van Geis is? Eddie, what do you got for us?
Well, one of the great coaches at Indiana University is the gentleman next to me, Tommy Schwegler, and he is the coach of Kappa Alpha Theta, the defending champions. And Tommy, you've got everybody back this year, and you got that speedster Nicole Vincent who crossed the line first a year ago. Your thoughts coming into this race?
Well, it's nice to have a dream team, and when you can have a dream team 2 years in a row, you just are all smiles. We're going to go out and ride an aggressive race. The competition's going to be stiff, but I know we're going to be there at the end, and we're not going to be denied.
Tommy, I got to ask you, what team or teams are you going to key off of to make the winning move?
There's going to be 3 teams, including us. The other are Kappa, Kappa, Gamma, and the Teter women. They're both very strong. Teter's new this year as far as their strength. Kappa also perennial. Great team, but I think we can beat them both.
All right, Tommy, good luck to you. Jack, Dylan, and Jason, when you talk about coaches at Indiana University for the Little 500, whether it's the men's race where he coached Acacia or for Kappa Alpha Theta, Tommy Schwegler is top of the list.
Eddie, thank you. Dylan, can you go over the horizon on somebody in a race like this? Is it possible?
Well, I think it's really important that these riders they need to rely on their coaches, because the coach is on the side, and he's got the big picture in mind. He's not thinking about 1 or 2 laps, he's thinking about the finish line. And so a coach really has a really big role in this type of situation.
That's a great point, Dylan. And some of our top teams here are definitely led by top coaches as well. Delta Zeta is coached by Jim Kirkham. He's a guy with enormous knowledge about the Little 500. Bill Nas coaches Kappa Kappa Gamma. Every year he brings girls here that are just ready to race. This year they're on the pole, and they're one of our favorites today.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to be back this year and to be able to recognize some of the riders, and I'm excited to see how that plays out as far as having some experience.
Yes, something really interesting is Teter wasn't really in the mix last year, but Teter comes here today, the team in black. They're the strongest. They dominated individual time trials. They won the overall series events, and I've noticed that they're actually starting with their number 2 girl as opposed to their number 1 girl, which, what may happen, it gives them an advantage because all the number 1 girls are out there right now. And Teter might start with the number 2 girl, Jessica. She comes in for an exchange, hands it off to Bree, who's dominated the series events. You might see an early break. Something could get away early.
Yeah, one thing that's important to keep in mind, Jason, though, is you can be really good on paper, but when it comes down to race day, there's only one thing that matters, and that's the first rider across the line. And a lot of times I've seen teams that are really stacked, and then all of a sudden on race day, they just fall apart for some reason. So I think we're in for an exciting race.
We take a look at the riders for Kappa Kappa Gamma in row 1. And Alpha Gamma Delta and Kappa Alpha Theta.
Theta has the benefit of having Nicole back, who won the checkered flag last year. She's got to be thirsty for another one. She knows what it's like. She knows how to finish off a race. I'm excited to see what she does today.
The second row, the Teter women on the inside in the black.
And that's Delta Zeta right next to them, Roadrunners, who has a storied tradition on the outside. Roadrunners is kind of my surprise team today. They've won 2 of the last 3 years, yet we haven't said anything about them today. They obviously have a great program. Look for the team in gray, Roadrunners, to be a surprise today. Be there at the end.
2 more rolling laps here for the rolling start. We look at the third row. Now, qualifying position carries status, certainly, but strategically, does it have any practical purpose? Because in the early part of this race, we're going to see a lot of riding in a pack.
It does, Jack, because you're going to see the fastest girls on each team out there right now. And if you qualify in the back of the pack, the girls up front are going to say, hey, we want to drop the girls in the back and get rid of them right away. And it's tough to move up on the outside corners. And starting in the back is certainly a disadvantage. You want to start up front. There's no doubt about it.
But, Dylan, how quickly will those alliances be formed, and then when will they be broken?
Well, I think right away the teams that are strong are going to recognize that they need to use some of the other strong teams as well, because they don't want to have the entire responsibility on them. So you'll see little collaborations going on, but, look to those things that come apart in the last 5 to 10 laps for sure.
So we might see the top 3 teams, or maybe even the top 4, say, let's get rid of the riffraff, and you might even see something akin to a pace line here and try to put some distance out there before the first handoff?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to throw the throttle down and kind of eliminate some of the non-players so that then when it's time to get down to real racing, it's a little bit smaller of a field.
Dylan, something I find interesting is you have some girls out here who have a lot of racing experience, who show up at collegiate races, they show up at USCF races in the summer.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, you have a girl like Corey Bitzer who does everything, right? She was named Intramural Woman of the Year at IU. She plays flag football. She does all kinds of things. Is that going to be a hindrance for her today, or would you rather have real life road racing?
You know, I mean, real-life road racing, it obviously has a big factor as far as being prepared for an event like this, but, you know, I'm just totally amazed at how different this event is. And, you know, I think there's something unique about having 4 riders that are all completely dependent upon each other to win this race. So I think just being an overall great athlete is going to be really important here.
Bitzer is in the middle of the first row wearing the pink, or should we call it fuchsia. It's undeniably bright. You're going to be able to see that. The green jersey belongs to the qualifying champions, the pole winners. The yellow jersey belongs to the defending champions. Here they come into turn 4. The pace car is off the track. They're going to take green here as they come across start finish. This is a pretty big moment.
The jitterbugs are going, and these girls, they've already scripted this out. They've done a practice race before this, and they kind of know what's going to happen right here. It'd be interesting to see who wants to take him into turn 1 and take the pole right off the front.
And green flag. The Little 500 is underway for the women in 2004.
Gamma Delta. And she's coming around the Kappa Gamma right. 3 wide at times. It becomes a big bunch pack, and then it'll string out.
A lot of adrenaline working right now, Dylan.
Yeah, you know, I think they've gotten over their pre-race jitters now, and they're just excited to be out there and going hard. But it's important to kind of maintain a little bit composure here because, you know, like Jason was saying, Jessica Eaton or maybe the other rider might be really well skilled as far as an athlete, but if she expends too much energy early in the race, it's not going to help her on the last lap.
Eaton went right to the front, but she couldn't hold the pace. You're eating an awful lot of wind resistance for your pursuers when you're out in front in cycling. And here is...
That's Corey Bitzer on the front, and Jessica Sapp for Kappa Gamma in the green, sitting in nice and tight behind her. I like where the Teter's rider's riding right now. That's her. She finished second in individual time trials. Great rider, Jessica Lindemann. Look for her to do a big first set, bring it into Brie Kovac, and I think they're going to go early.
Now, what is a big first set? How many laps?
Well, it differs a little bit for the men and the women. I would, when I coach the women's Little 5 team, I would look for between a 10 and 15 lap set. That would be a big set. And equate that to miles. 4 laps is 1 mile. So you're really not riding. It's not like a long road race that Dylan would ride over in Belgium or anything like that. These girls are trained.
Oh, there's a big wreck on the back.
And we have a wreck going into the
bodies
third. We are
over
yellow.
the track.
We go yellow.
And the yellow flag is out. They'll have to hold their position.
The middle of the pack involved
between
in that,
turns 4 and 1. A huge pileup.
The wrecks, they always happen
Team
in the
number
corners
11,
because what
Alpha
you see is
Phi
they string out on the
29,
straightaways, bunch
Delta
up
Zeta
in the
Phi,
corners. That's where you see a rubber wheel and people might go down. The great thing, this is still going to be a wonderful race. Well, let's just pray that these women are okay. We have all of our leading teams are still up there.
Keith Stewart, Mike Howard is asking for the pace to be
AGD
slowed down.
survived, Kappa Gamma
You have an injured
survived.
rider between turns 3 and 4.
Well, the danger of riding in such close quarters and on cinder, sometimes those wheels can get wiggly.
Yeah, you know, you saw the rider. She just overlapped wheels a little bit and it caused a huge chain reaction.
Speed went down, Alpha Phi went down, Alpha Chi Omega. That's just a disastrous start for some of these young ladies. Let's just hope that they're okay.
Yeah, that was
So Jason, what exactly are the rules when there's a yellow flag out? Does everybody have to come back together? Similar to auto racing?
Well, you don't come back together. The rule is when the yellow flag's out, you have to keep your distance, maintain your distance to the leader. So right now, Corey Bitzer, the girl in pink for Alpha Gamma Delta, they're our leaders, and everyone else on the track has to maintain their distance. The teams that wrecked, they have to go out and there has to be a handoff or a bike change and get a fresh bike out there.
Jessica Eaton, who made that early dash, I believe was the first rider to go down. Let's have one more look at the crash. The leaders are out of harm's way here. It happens behind them. That's Eaton. And then it's just a horrible mess.
You know, what we see happen here is exactly why it's really important to be at the front at the beginning of a race. Because everybody's nervous, a little bit jittery. You're not really sure how the bikes are going to handle, what the weather conditions are like.
This is normal speed.
Months and months of preparation, and something like this, if you're riding at the back, if you're riding in poor position, the result is you're going to go down.
Did she touch wheels there, Dylan? It seemed there was a sharp movement.
I think what happened is she just slightly touched wheels on the rider to her right and overreacted, and then once that happens, it's all over.
Dylan is a professional rider. Going 35, 40 miles an hour, and there are upwards of tragic things still happen. What do you do if you're coming up on that at a rate of 50 feet per second and there's no way out?
Yeah, you know, Jack, the best thing I learned is that when the crash is happening in front of you, look away, because what happens is you end up going where you're looking. So it's really important to just, okay, there's a crash happening, what do I need to do to avoid it? And if you can, you want to try to steer around it. You know, but that's bike racing. And I think this is an example of how this is a real bike race, because, you know, crashes happen, and in order to win a race, you need to stay out of the crashes. And so it's much more than just being the fastest or the strongest. You also have to be the smartest.
Now, Jason, there's also the emotional aspect of this here. These riders together for so long, and a couple of teams have seen teammates taken off. Which is going to be necessary. Reaction inside a team when something like this happens.
Well, if you're the rider that goes down, and fortunately enough you're able to get up, it's all adrenaline at that point, Jack. You want to grab your bike, and if you're able to ride your bike, you want to get up and ride it to the pit as quickly as you can. One time I crashed in turn 2 in my first set. It was 15 laps in, and what you want to do is you want to get that bike and try to catch back up with the leaders as quickly as you can. If you're hurting, if your bike's hurting, that's when you go into the pit and you give off an exchange.
We still are in yellow.
6 laps down and 94 remaining in the women's Little 500. A huge crash.
So the medical attention has been provided to
the women's race tends to stretch out a little bit more than
start-finish
the
line
men's race.
For Chappie Blackwell, the fourth. We hold still the yellow flag, but we might be returning to racing here momentarily.
They were tightly bunched when this wreck happened. Eddie Van Dyce is down at track level as they go green again. Eddie, what happened down there?
Are racing here. HDNet in the lead. And then Kappa right behind.
Well, the two most seriously injured riders represented Team 20 Mezcla and Team 25 Pi Beta Phi. And from Pi Beta Phi, the young lady taken into the medical tent, that is Andrea Haney. I didn't get an identification on Team 20 Mezcla, but the one thing we can tell you, in a nasty crash like that, you can't have better medical personnel than the type you have here at Indiana University. So not only do you have world-class racers, you've got top-notch racers in the men's and women's race, but you've got a medical team that is Johnny on the spot. If I get more information on these injuries, I'll update you, Jack.
Eddie Van Geist, thanks very much. Dylan, does this change the dynamics of this race, because the #1 riders taking that first shift have now had basically 4 laps of complete cardiovascular recovery?
Yeah, well, you know, I think it's really important to recognize here that we have 12 riders on the lead lap, and then we have a lot of other riders kind of all over the place. You know, you can kind of see the pack here going around a slower rider, so it's really important to kind of maintain focus, yet at the same time keep you know, notice of the fact that they need to come in and do a change soon.
And look at Corey Bitzer on the front, Dylan. She's really dropping the hammer. I clocked them as about a 36, 37 second lap, which is absolutely flying for the women.
Her
support the teams that did go down. She wants to get an advantage and just go with it. They're going to end up lapping some of the teams that did go down.
They've already made up a lap on one rider, and here goes another one. Again, it's Corey Bitzer in the pink from Alpha Gamma Delta, and right on her wheel, I believe it's Kelsey Cooper from Kappa Gamma, and Delta Zeta.
Delta Zeta, Teter in black sitting nice behind them as well. Roadrunners, looks like they're moving to the outside a little bit. They might be trying to go for an exchange. Dylan, something to think about, and something that we always told our riders was that you don't want to go into exchange when the pace is fast, because it's really tough to get a gap then. This would be interesting because you see the Roadrunners girl going in right now. She's separating from the leader. She's trying to get a little gap and take care of the second girl that's going to get on.
That's right. The rider who just did the exchange, she now needs to catch back up. But we can see Corey, she's just got the hammer down. She's on the front still. I bet this is part of their whole strategy.
Roadrunners making an exchange. You have to make the exchange in the parameters of your 16-foot pit.
That's the Alpha Gamma Delta pit you're looking at there. Corey Bitzer, one of the strongest riders for their team, is out there doing a heck of a lot of work right now, doing a lot of laps. In the pit, they're waiting for her to give the signal that she's going to come in. This is really amazing. This girl looks to have great form on the bike, and she just looks to be hauling.
Looks like Corey's coming in for a change.
Bitzer's coming out wide. And Megan Shabani. Correction, I think that's Vicky Hunziker. Hops on, and is that a good exchange for Alpha Gamma Delta?
Well, Dylan and Jack, that's something we talked about earlier. Even though Corey rode a heck of a first set and she was on the front the whole time, she brought the bike in off the back, which hurts the second rider getting on it. You can see her chasing a little bit right now. She hasn't caught up with our leaders, which are Kappa Gamma and Teter.
Yeah, if she's not careful, she's going to miss the pack because she's getting caught up with some of the other riders as another lead rider comes in to do an exchange.
That's Teter. This is exactly what we expected to see. I would expect to see Bree Kovac get on the bike now, who won individual time trials. Might be the strongest rider out there.
Teter has made its exchange. How hard is it right after the exchange to get back to speed? These are single gear bikes, and it's a 46-18 ratio, so you got to move it pretty hard to get some momentum going.
Well, Jack, we just saw the Teter rider come in off of an with one of the Alpha Gamma Delta riders. So we could see a two-person breakaway happen right here.
Yeah, you see Thetas and Kappas, yellow and green, both coming in for an exchange. There's good exchanges. I think we'll see the four lead green and 8 all get back together here. Let's see if
these two riders are by themselves.
Yeah, could they say see ya here? Could they just go over the horizon? Kappa Gamma's exchange as we go back and take a look at it on replay.
Let's see, communication is key here because you saw Theta's on the inside. She picks it up with her right hand. That's a good exchange. She's going to get back with the leaders in no time. Well done.
And Allison Edwards is right there. So the leaders in black, Teter women, followed by Alpha Gamma Delta in the pink, and then Kappa Gamma in green, Kappa Alpha Theta, the defending champions, wearing yellow. That's your lead pack right there, and they're putting a big gap out.
Jack, you're right. We could have a 4-rider breakaway right here. These 4 girls could totally lap the field right now because there's total mayhem behind them. And the 4 of them have got the fastest line around the track. So they all need to work together right now because there's still 90 laps to go.
This is going to be a great race to watch. Historically, you see only a couple of women's teams on the lead lap at the end, and right now it's an excellent example of that. We have 4 teams separating themselves from the field, standing out right from the start, and it'll just be interesting to see how it shakes up as we get into the middle of the race.
Are they going to help each other here, Dylan, in a pace line? Well, actually, first of all, explain what a pace line is for those who haven't been serious cyclists.
Yeah, Jack, well, when you're breaking the wind, you're using 30% more energy than the rider behind you. However, if you take turns, you can essentially go 20 to 30% faster as a group than you can as an individual. So we have these 4 riders here. It doesn't look like they're cooperating that well because they're all kind of spread out. What they really need to do is get all in the line and each take a turn. Now it's interesting, here's the Alpha girl. She looks like she's coming in to do an exchange.
Yeah, here is the exchange and they change bikes, which you are allowed to do. They have 2 different bikes. Now maybe they're using two different size bikes because there's a big physiological difference between the two. Now here's that exchange. I think this is going to be the Kappa Alpha Theta exchange. I'm not sure. No,
this is AGD, Jack.
Alpha Gamma Delta, yep.
And Alpha Gamma Delta is the very bright.
Now that's a rider exchange where they share the same bike. So one girl got on another angle. Well done. You see that right arm bent with a 90-degree angle. The difference here is there's going to be different bikes, riders with different seat heights. She has to come to a stop. You see on as she's getting up to speed. Jack, something we talked about earlier, the conditioning set by absolutely affected them. She came in off the back, didn't get very many laps in. Girl, they can do more laps, and they've pulled ahead of the pink team, the AGD team.
Yeah, there's about a 40-yard gap there. Teter women now are in the lead in the black, followed by Kappa Kappa Gamma in green, and then the defending champions wearing the yellow Kappa Alpha Theta. And there you see the gap. Not even in the frame, Alpha Gamma Delta.
You know, Jack, I think if I was the Teter coach, I'd be telling her to get off the front right now and make the Kappas do a little bit of work here. I mean, you got three people, you got to use them to your advantage. Otherwise, the Alpha rider is going to catch up. But, you know, we can see the gap getting larger and larger, and it looks like the Teter rider is going to pull off now and let the Kappa Kappa Gamma rider come through, and that's a smart move.
And that's what you were talking about the pace line and sharing the work.
That's right.
And the communication came into play as well. The coaches in the pit are telling them that AGD, the team in the pink's down, it's time to go. So you see them picking up the pace, and now they're sharing pulls a little bit.
How lonely is it to be in that fourth spot, the pink rider, Alpha Gamma Delta, where you got to catch those three and you know they're gapping you?
It's the worst place in the world, Jack, because you can only do a couple laps all out. I mean, it's tough on that gear. It's tough on the cinder track. And right now, you see the Alpha Gamma Delta rider. She's already hit the wall. They're going to try to do a couple lap sets in hopes of picking back up with the leaders.
Kate Burnett gives it off to Megan Shabani, and now Shabani has to churn, and she's given up a quarter lap here. We're going to see if that pace line out in front, again, go back to Dylan's comment, talking about how you expend 30% more effort if you're riding alone or riding in front. Those three riders now have a full 100 yards. I think they're going over the horizon here on Alpha Gamma Delta. They're dropping her.
Yeah, I really think that those three riders are going to pull away and drop the Alpha Gamma Delta rider.
And, well, you have some great riders out there because you have Bree Kovac for Teter, and you have Allison Edwards on the green team, Kappa Kappa Gamma. The Kappa Alpha Theta rider, she's experienced as well. They're all returning. You have some experienced ladies out there that know what to do in this type of situation.
1/5 of the way through, and this is a race that runs just over 25 miles. What is the engine of these riders? Again, Dylan, we're talking about a fixed gear bike, a 46 on the front crank, and then the sprocket is 18. It's a cinder track. You don't get a lot of glide on each stroke.
No, not at all, Jack. And not only that, but we have a headwind, tailwind situation here. So that means that on the front stretch, you got a headwind, and on the back stretch, you got a tailwind. So you have to pay attention to that when you're deciding how much energy to push. Because if you kill yourself in the headwind, when you get into the tailwind, you're just gonna, you're not really gonna get the advantage of that. So you have to gauge your effort.
Bree Kovac has decided she's gonna put the hammer down after slacking the pace in that front three. Kovac in black has accelerated. Now a little bit of glide through the corner here. And we've got a yellow flag as we've had an accident right at the start-finish line.
That's unfortunate because not only for the riders that went down, but also for the three riders that were off the front. I think they were really putting the hammer down there.
And something we've seen so far, Dylan, we keep talking about drafting and the advantages of being up front. The two big teams right now are Teter and Kappa Kappa Gamma. Kappa Alpha Theta, our defending champion in yellow, they've been sitting on for the last 5 or 6 laps. Great smart move. Veteran coach Tom Schwegler, he's guiding them in the right way. Look for them to surprise if they're just going to sit on.
That's right, Jason. Well, he knows it. He knows that, wow, let's see what's happening here. Oh.
Into the hay bales. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, that's gonna leave a mark. I'll tell you, I've crashed into a couple of hay bales myself, and I'll tell you, they're not that soft.
Yeah, and then you're pulling the hay out of your helmet and out of your jerseys for the rest of the race. It's not a happy feeling.
This race used to be at the 10th Street Stadium in Bloomington, which is now an arboretum. They tore the stadium down, and just a fence remains there. but this is actually safer than that stadium was. A wider track and a flat curb on the inside for drainage. It could have been much worse because there used to be a raised curb at 10th Street, and had that rider bounced off of that 4-inch high cement curb, it could have been just awful.
There was a raised curb and there's also no banking. There's a little bit of banking out here, which you really can't see if you're looking at it from up here. It does help the riders, and the wider turns also help. Yeah, the old stadium, from what I hear, it really lended a hand to individual dominance. The Delta Chi teams, the Phi Kappa Psi teams, they dominated.
Well, the medics are out attending to the fallen, and the race continues. It's the women's Little 500 coming your way live from Bloomington, Indiana on HDNet Sports. We'll be right back. Returning to the 17th annual Women's Little 500 in Bloomington, Indiana, Alpha Gamma Delta in pink. Almost got spat out the back of the pack, but under yellow, and coming to the restart, they have decided to put the hammer down, and they're getting back within about 50 yards of the lead three, who are still Teter women in black, Kappa Kappa Gamma in green, and Kappa Alpha Theta in yellow. We have preliminary word on some of the riders who've gone down. Let's get that from Eddie Van Geis.
Yeah, Jack, the two teams that just crashed on the home stretch, Team 20 was Mezcla, and Team 21, the Collins women. Now, this is the second woman to go down from Team Mezcla, Team 20, and her name is Annette Soto. The earlier rider to go down, that is Josefa Marigal, and she was transported to the hospital. So that's two of the women right now from Team 20, Mezcal, that are out of the bike race. From Team 21, the Collins women, it was Jessie Eaton of Cincinnati. Jessie was walking to the medical tent, a precautionary move. She was responsive and didn't appear to be hurt very badly. But of course, we know right now their chances for this race, they've been hurt very seriously. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you very much, Eddie. It's good to hear that some of the riders at least are doing okay. The gap is down to about 30 yards, but Roadrunners are right up on the lead, and they're in that kind of informal pace line that's out at the front.
It's tough to tell, but that's the Collins women in gray and white on the front. Roadrunners, they are on the same lap. Right now we're looking at the Teter, the team in black, Kappa Kappa Gamma in green, Kappa Alpha Theta in yellow. Close behind, an incredible effort by Corey Bitzer. She's proven to me already that she's one of the top riders on campus. The girl in pink for AGD, she's closing the gap. Look for it to come back together. We'll see if she can close this off. This is less than I don't know, that's about 200 yards.
Yeah, the coach at Alpha Gamma Delta did a great job by putting Corey in, because he knew that his strongest rider might be able to close that gap.
You're watching HDNet Sports live coverage of the women's Little 500.
This is amazing. And Dylan, I think you know what it's like to suffer like that.
Yeah, but look, they sat up and waited for Corey, and she's going to go straight to the front. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, she's an animal.
Yeah.
How do you do that, Dylan? How do you chase for lap after lap after lap and then come to the front? And the only thing I would change right here is I would let Corey sit on for a little bit and recover before she came in for her exchange.
I agree, Jason.
Off she goes, and Vicky Hunziker is back on. We saw Hunziker with a very strong turn a little bit earlier.
Let's see if we can get Eddie down there to interview Corey. That was an incredible effort. She's proven to me to be a true competitor.
That's how you get named to the All-Star team, I guess.
And once again, you're seeing the infield, but Teter's on the offensive right now, and they're really putting the hurt on AGD again. AGD doesn't look to be very deep to me.
Well, you know, the thing is, Jason, is that Corey just did a great job of closing the gap, and now they're kind of in the same position that they were before, and we see Teter now getting ready to do an exchange. So that can help bring everything back together, because the Alpha Gamma rider could catch up to the Teter rider as right here in turn one.
Mia Dragon is now on for Teter, and Kappa Kappa Gamma has a lead of about 35 yards. This is the Teter rider right here, Dragon.
That's Theta. They look to be coming into an exchange. Let's watch this. It's a rider exchange. Let's see how well they do it. And they have a little gap. This is great. You're going to see a ghost exchange as she lets the bike go in slow motion. I don't think that's everything Tom would ask for, but it'll work in this race. You just want to get back on the bike, no accidents.
That's right. Nicole Vincent, I believe, is the rider now for Kappa Alpha Theta.
Number 3, Kappa Alpha Theta in second. In third, Teter women, team number 4. In fourth,
So
team
Kappa
number
Kappa
2,
Gamma
Alpha
just did
Gamma
an
Delta.
exchange, and we see the Theta rider catching up to the
Team
Teter
number
rider.
6. In sixth, team number 17, Cycledelics. In seventh, Alpha Phi, team
That's the
number
ghost
11.
exchange. Not everyone does it like that. She's going to hop off the bike. Essentially, no one's touching the bike at a certain point in time, and the girl waiting waits to pick it up.
And in 10th, Delta Zeta,
A little bit different. That's the more
team number 5.
conventional exchange, where you see the bent arm and the leg come over one side.
And then Gamma Phi Beta, team number 13.
What a great race right here. We have our defending champions, Kappa Alpha Theta, led by Nicole Vincent, and Teter, led by Bree Kovac, the up-and-coming team, looking to duke it out here at the end today.
Well, you know, Jason, I think that if Theta and Teter right now are smart, they're going to work together, because they don't want to let Kappa or the
The Kappa Kappa Gamma riders putting the hammer down, coming out of turn 4 here.
Kappa Alpha Theta, team number 3. In the lead.
The rider in third position is not on the lead lap. Kappa Alpha Theta in yellow is leading Teter in black.
Then Alpha Gamma Delta.
And Kappa Kappa Gamma, the pole winners, are in third place.
You're going to see that a lot, Jack. As long as you can keep up with the leaders, the officials aren't going to get in the way, and they're going to let them blend in and form a little pack here. But again, like you keep saying, Teter, the team in black, is on the front. Kappa Alpha Theta in second, Kappa Kappa Gamma in third. Then once again, AGD is chasing. AGD is about a quarter of the lap down, which we can't see right now in pink.
You know, Jason, I think that exchange that Corey Bitzer did right when she made contact with the leaders is actually going to be their downfall, because we see that they're in the same exact position off the back, and I don't think they're going to be able to close that.
So the race is right up there among those three. In yellow, Kappa Alpha Theta. And in black, the Teter women. And in green, Kappa Kappa Gamma.
Oh, yeah.
You'd better.
Cycledelics and the Roadrunners.
There's a lot of variables out there. You have the weather, you have the cinders, you have inexperienced riders. If you're the top girl out there, that's why you see people on the front, Dylan. We often wonder why you want to do the work.
That's right.
Well, if you're on the front, a lot of the variables go away.
That's right. That's what I was saying is, you know, winning bike races is more than just being strong. You have to be smart and know where to be at the right time. So I think we saw that happen.
Sorry to interrupt, Dylan. Dragon makes a hard move to go to the front. And again, Kappa Alpha Theta and Kappa Kappa Gamma drafting off of Dragon's move. Eddie has something from us from track level. Eddie.
All right, we're with Steve Gluff, the coach here of Alpha Gamma Delta. Coach, a big set ridden by your leader, Corey Bitzer. Tell us about it. What an effort there. You're chasing the 3 leaders.
Corey I've coached her for 4 years now, and she is just incredibly strong. You can look forward to do this all day long.
Now, what's your prediction here? Are you going to make contact with those leaders?
Well, we got our work cut out for us. She's about to get on the bike. We're going to close it down.
Coach, good luck. Jack, a very determined team right here. They started out position number 2, and right now they are going to try and catch the leaders. Drama in the little 500. Jack.
Well, it looks like they're trying the superstar strategy, but Jason, is that going to work?
It's really tough to do it with one person, Jack. And the women's race is 25 miles long. You're going to need to be at least 2-3 deep, and that's why the teams. That's why you see Kappa Kappa Gamma up there. They're 4 deep. You see Teter up there. They're 4 deep. Kappa Alpha Theta, 4 returning riders from last year. You need a team. It's not an individual effort. It's still 500.
In with the group going through that second turn down to the midpoint of the backstretch.
Kappa Alpha Theta's Nicole Vincent.
Kappa Alpha Theta, Teter women, and Kappa Kappa Gamma.
That might be Liz Milne. I may have misidentified the rider there.
Yeah, that's Liz Milne, Jack. Nicole Vincent is a strong rider for Kappa Alpha Theta. She's been in the pit a lot today. I think she's resting her legs for the end.
Now Lee Frame gets on for Kappa Alpha Theta. And how they get sorted out after the exchanges is part of the fascination of the little 500, and to the uninitiated, it's kind of hard to figure out what's going on in terms of strategy because they're giving up so much track position. But I suppose in a relay race with a fixed gear bike, you have no option. You can't just burn one rider.
No, you can't, and that's why sharing the same bike and doing a rider exchange instead of a bike exchange is a little bit quicker, because you'll see them come off with a little momentum. It'd be easier to turn that gear and get the bike up to speed. It's just an all-out interval to catch, and as the Kappa Alpha Theta rider just did, is that lead frame? I think she caught right back up. It's just an all-out interval to catch. You want to get there, you sit on, you recover, then you go all out again and try to get your gap going for an exchange.
Dylan, how much of your cardiovascular engine did you have when you were of college age? You're the rare rider, the rare world-class rider who went to college.
Yeah, that's right, Jack. You know, it's really interesting because I didn't really think about it then. I just found a passion for cycling and really liked to race, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing out here, and there's no reason that some of these athletes can't go on to be world-class athletes.
Do you have enough of an engine and enough experience to know when you're going to blow and when you have to back off in a situation like this where you don't want to give up a lot of track position on your next exchange?
Well, there's one thing that's true for everybody, no matter how quick or how good a shape you're in, is that pain is pain. So when the legs are on fire, it's definitely time to change the bikes. And, you know, that's the great thing about the little 500 is that you can come in and do an exchange. And if the coach is smart, he's watching you, and he's been working with you long enough that he can tell when you're starting to fall apart because you're going to get raggedy on the bike. You're looking like you're wrestling that thing like it's a horse or something. So when that happens, you got to bring your rider in and do an exchange.
So, Jason, what do you do when you feel the legs start to burn or you get the signal? Do you try to turn it on, get a little bit of space, or do you just gut it out?
There's only one solution. If you're going to be a winning team, you got to sit on and you got to recover. And the toughest thing about that, when we're on our road bikes and Dylan's out racing, he's going to switch it into a smaller gear and try to flush those legs out. Out here, they only have one gear. You know, they're turning that same big gear over and over and over again. And when the lactic acid comes, there's no smaller gear to turn to.
Oh, and look at this. We saw the Teter woman going over to the Kappa girl and say, hey, why don't you come through and have it turn at the front here? You know, there's more than one person here in the race, so do your share of the work. I like that.
How do the politics work in a scenario like that?
Well, you know, it's already clear that we're down to 3 riders, more or less, for this race. So it's really up to those 3 teams to take responsibility for the race. And then this is also the opportunity to play a little mind games. You know, we've seen the Kappa riders kind of sitting at the back. You know, maybe she doesn't really feel like pulling through. She's like, no, I don't want to pull through. You pull through. So it's like a chess game.
Past winners. This is the 17th women's race. Kappa Alpha Theta, the defending champions, with Roadrunners with a couple of titles before that. And the leaders are now coming up on riders that they are lapping. It's the obligation of the riders who are going slower to pull wide, get out of the way, give the faster line to the leading riders, but they're having to pick their way through traffic. Jason, on a cinder track, I would imagine that's not the easiest thing to do.
No, it's not the easiest thing. And Jack, as you'll see, there's a little groove that forms a couple feet from the gutter, a couple feet from that cement gutter. You want to be in that groove. You don't want to be too far outside. You'll see a lot of communication between the riders. When they're coming into a turn and a slower girl's on the outside, they'll push them aside or maybe give them a little tap on the hip, let them know that they're coming.
Jason, Dylan, as a guy who won a national track championship and a national road championship in the same year, is this kind of a hybrid of the two where you got the tactics of the track, you have the endurance of the road and those kinds of strategies?
Yeah, you know, Jack, this event is really more like the points race, which is an event that takes place on the velodrome, both at the Olympic and World Championship levels, where you know, you score points every couple of laps, but it's really an endurance event. So it kind of like brings together 2 aspects of both speed, acceleration, and endurance. And that's a really important factor that you have to take advantage of here in this race.
We got a lot of speed on the track today, Dylan. We have Kappa Gamma girls to set the track record for the women in qualifications. Bree Kovac in the individual time trials for the women, she set the record as well. So we're seeing one of the fastest women's fields we've ever seen.
Yeah, that's right.
Great variety in the pace of this most recent lap here. Are they bluffing about possibly exchanging the bike? Because, you know, now they come past start-finish again. It's obvious they're not going to make an exchange and they slow down again.
You're exactly right, Jack. And what you'll see is someone to sit on and try to wait for someone else to go for that gap. And when that happens, for example, right now you see the Kappa Gamma girl in front. Nobody wants to go in first. When somebody goes in, you'll see someone follow her out. And then bluff and not do an exchange and keep up the fast pace.
Well, you know what all this bluffing could do? Is it could allow the rider, the Alpha Gamma Delta team who's been off the back for the last 10 laps, to catch back up, and that's not what you want to see happen.
Once again, they're picking their way through slower riders The leader right now in green, Kappa Kappa Gamma, and in black, the Teter women on the inside, and Kappa Alpha Theta in yellow. That is Lee Frame, who's riding right now for the yellow-clad defending champions of Kappa Alpha Theta. Your velodrome experience, you know, you can drop down from the high bank and we see those little battles of nerves where you're almost still on the single gear bike, and then bang, it's all out to the finish. You know, are they playing those little games of nerves in this shift between the three of them?
I think so, Jack. I think what's happening right now is their coaches are telling them to, like, hey, relax a little bit. You know, let the two other riders do something. And, you know, you're right. Are they exchanging? Are they attacking? It's really hard to tell. We might see an exchange happen here. Or the Teter rider could actually try to team up with one of the other riders that's not on the lead lap and sneak away. But
every single set that they do, it's a little bit like a race. You want to have an advantage. You don't want to come in off the back. Every single set, it's like a race for that individual rider. And then, of course, the little 500 as a whole, team event.
Lindemann really threw down a spurt in the last 100 yards to the start-finish line. She is the rider for the Teter women, as you see an exchange from Alpha Gamma Delta, which needs a lot of help right now.
Yeah, Jack, Alpha Gamma Delta is almost at half a lap down.
You guys at home, you just saw Corey Bitzer get back on the bike. That's their big horse. She's going to look to make up. This is a pursuit style for her. She's going to look to make up a half lap. That's really tough. She's already done it once today. I would be shocked if she could do it again.
So the leaders in yellow, Kappa Alpha Theta with Lee Frame on the bike. There's Bitzer trying to make up ground. That is one heroic solo effort.
And she's going faster than the rest of them. She's making up ground, Jack. They were a half lap down. Now they're less than a half lap.
For the Teter women in black, it's Bree Kovac on the bike. And Kappa Kappa Gamma, I believe, has Meredith Horner up right now, but we'll have to take a look as they come by.
You see him kind of sitting up. This gives Corey Bitzer on AGD an excellent opportunity to close that gap. What she really needs more than anything is to team up with someone else. She's out in no man's land right now.
Now, back in 1951, South Hall was the race winner. You see the series qualifications. We'll get back to that in a bit. They came up with what was an innovative strategy back then, that when a rider fell beneath a certain threshold on a time for a lap, they would switch. How do they decide now?
That's not how they do it anymore, because I think that the new track plays a difference in this. Really what you want to do is you want to wait until the pace slows down a little bit, until you're fresh, until you can get a gap. If you don't have the effort in you, if you don't have the fitness in you to go for the gap, it's not time to go. So you'll see someone draft and sit in behind somebody else before the attack and go in for that exchange. Absolutely. You don't want to come out when you're tired. That's a rule of thumb, Jack. You want to be able to accelerate from the other girls and get a lead.
Dylan, how close do they have to be to get any help from the draft?
Yeah, you know, you want to be at least about a half a foot to a foot at the most away from the rider in front of you to get a full draft.
There's a lot of trust involved. Teter is on the lead. Eddie Van Geist.
Got a fantastic record for he did, and also a team pursuit record, and you must like the way the race is shaped up thus far.
Right now everybody's making us do all the work, so everybody's keying off us. It's really not fair, but everybody's just going to keep, I guess, keeping their eye on us, and we're going to have to do a majority of the work and hopefully just get to the sprint, and hopefully that hammer can win the sprint.
Well, you know what, Chip? We've got Dylan Casey, a U.S. Postal. He'll tell you the same thing happens to Lance in the Tour de France, and it's happening here. You are a marked team. You guys are the strength of the field, and right now they want to draft off you. It's going to be your job to try to break them. You're going to be able to break them, you think?
We've been trying, but, you know, the plan's not working the way we wanted it to, but we're doing all the work. That's fine. We'll just keep going at it, and that's the plan, to keep attacking, and hopefully somebody will give us a break every once in a while, but we'll see what happens.
All right, it's going to prove to be an exciting second half of this bike race. Let's go back up to Team JDJ up in the booth.
and I got news for that young Teter coach down there. When you win missing out like Bree Kovac did, when you win individual time trials, when you win the overall team series, of course they're going to be looking out for you. There's no surprise there. They're going to be sitting on your wheel.
Yeah, there's no question of that. The Teter has the responsibility here, and they have two choices. Either they can take it, or they can bluff. You know, they can say, hey, you know what? This is not our race to win. You want to win this race? You take the front.
Lee Frame makes a huge move, wearing the yellow for Kappa Alpha Theta, and Teter goes right with her, and Kappa Kappa Gamma. So here we see it again. Really slow laps. We actually saw some of the lapped teams going past them on the previous lap. Now they're putting the hammer down because they want to make the exchange.
And this is really, really smart for Teter and Kappa Kappa Gamma right here. They want to stay as close to her as possible, not let her get any advantage at all, and then hopefully they're going to pick it up right now and make Nicole suffer catching back up.
Frame is off. Nicole Vincent is on, and she's got some catching up to do as she gets the bike to speed. She's down about 40 yards or so all in all. Is that a good exchange?
It's an okay exchange. It's not a great exchange. Nicole has to do a little bit of work to catch back up, but it's an okay exchange. As long as you can stay with the leaders, it's okay.
But now the Kappa Kappa Gamma rider and the Teter women rider slow the pace and let her get back in.
Well, you know, there's 43 laps to go.
And look where Nicole's sitting right now. I'm sure Tom Schwegler in the pit wants her to move up. Oh, here's the exchange. You see that ghost exchange again.
Number 5, Delta Zeta. In 8th, Kappa Delta, team number 18.
At this point in time, nobody touches the bike. This is amazing to me. But no one touches the bike. The new rider hops on. It's unique to Kappa Alpha Theta and Acacia. I guess it's really unique to Tom Schwegler and what he teaches. He thinks that's the best discipline and the best way to do an exchange. That's the way they do it.
It's a coaster brake on these bikes. It's like the one you had as a kid. You have to push backward on the pedal to slow the bike down. Dylan, of course, totally different game when you're racing on asphalt. When you have the hand brakes, what's the difference here?
Well, you know, not only are they racing on cinder, but they don't have brakes to modulate their speed, because in order to slow down, you got to stop pedaling and then pedal backwards. And by the time you do that, you could be on the ground. So, you know, it's really interesting to see how they make it.
Meredith Horner from Kappa Kappa Gamma trying to create a little bit of a gap, but Nicole Vincent's right with her. Here's the exchange for Teter.
Zeta Tau Alpha, team number 28.
And you see a lot smarter of an approach here by Kappa Kappa Gamma and Kappa Alpha Theta. They're really dropping the hammer. You see Bree Kovac chasing quite a bit longer than the Theta rider had to do. So they decided they're going to pick it up after Teter exchanges and cue off her. Now you see Kappa Kappa Gamma going in for an exchange. Their coach Bill Noss has probably talked to him and said, hey, wait till Teter goes in. They're the strongest team. They're the marked team. Then we go in.
And now it gaps out a little bit. Kappa Alpha Theta in yellow on the lead with Teter about. Pace slackens again, and then Kappa Kappa Gamma still about 25 yards off the lead. You're watching live coverage of the women's Little 500 from the campus of Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. Of course, a lot of people have seen the film Breaking Away, which really made this weekend famous. But it's a long tradition going all the way back to 1951, and the women have taken part on this track now for 17 years.
61 laps.
And Dylan, this really does wonders for developmental racing. I mean, where else in America are you going to see over 100 women out there racing a bike today? A former Roadrunner rider, Jen Wingaren, she's out at the Olympic Training Center right now in Colorado Springs. Many riders go on to do great things after this event. And this is just a great way to get under 23 young riders into bike racing.
I think you're right, Jason. You know, these riders have been preparing for months, if not years, for today, and they live like real bike racers. You know, we heard one of the other riders talking about how you get up, you go for your training ride, you go to class, you go study. It's a day-by-day process that really gets the rider to this point in a place to win the race.
Absolutely, and you wonder why sororities might dominate this, or 2 of the 3 top teams are sororities. Well, they have financially, they have economic advantages as well as a lot of support from the sorority sisters. You probably have girls that go on spring break with these guys, cook for them, maybe give them leg massages at night, take care of them, all the ins and outs. All these girls need to worry about racing the bike.
It's great. It's like a whole program that's all built around developing riders. And, you know, it's like I said before, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these riders go on to be world-class athletes.
And in this day and age when the college experience is more diverse than ever, when you have people who are part of a common group already, it's much easier to make a group effort. Once again, Teter women out in front with Kappa Kappa. second. That's black first, green second, and Kappa Alpha Theta in yellow third. They are on the lead lap. The burgundy rider in fourth place is not actually in fourth place. She's a lap down. That's Delta Zeta.
And Dylan, what you have right now, you remember Nicole Vincent from last year's race where she won it on the last lap. You see her sitting third right now. She has that experience of being on the last lap before. Of the 3 girls out there, she's the only one with that experience. I really do like her chances. Even though they're not the strongest team, I think she may have the knowledge and a little bit of the experience to take her there.
You know, there's something about being third wheel because you're not the first rider that gets looked at when the first rider pulls off. So you can kind of hide out a little bit. Theta's doing a great job.
Dylan, with all these crashes, does it remind you a little bit of the tough pave in Belgium?
It sure does. You know, the races in Belgium, especially Paris-Roubaix and some of the other classics that take place there with the cobblestones, I always thought that there was 2 types of riders. There was ones that have crashed and the others that were gonna crash.
One of the reasons I made that analogy is because really on pushing this gear, it takes a little bit of a bigger rider. It's a big gear. Like I said, there's only 1 gear and there's no hills.
That's right.
So just like the pave, it takes a little bit bigger of a rider to force it through.
That's right.
Teter women in black, Kappa Kappa Gamma in green, Kappa Alpha Theta in yellow. They are the leaders. There are some lapped riders who are right with them, but you see the pace going faster than slower as they try to feel each other out.
And another thing you see, Jack, you see the top riders out there at the same time. Nicole's the leader for Theta, Brikovac's the leader for Teter. They've lined it up, the coaches have, so they're on the bike at the same time. So I think you'll see that a lot. We're on lap 65. There's only 35 to go. I think Nicole might get a good rest. Maybe Bria get a good rest as well, as she's the sprinter for Teter.
How far can they go? What is the optimum to have your sprinter out there in a situation like this where there are 3 teams right in it?
Everybody's different. Some people want the bike and want to rest. Some people want it with maybe 3-4 laps to go. I think you'll see the sprinters getting on between 5 and 10 laps to go. But the great thing about Little 5 is it's so unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. You could see a team go early, 10 to 15 laps out. You could see a team want to wait for the sprint. There's going to be all kinds of surprises. There's going to be wrecks because of fitness. People are going to be starting to hurt towards the end of the race.
Kappa Kappa Gamma on the lead in green, and Eddie Van Geis is in their pits. Go, Eddie.
This gentleman looking, and he's looking at his women right now. That is Bill Nass. Bill Nass still holds the single lap record in qualifications in men's Little 5. And Bill, tell us about your situation. Things look real good. I know that Teter wanted to drop you by this point of the bike race. We're past the halfway point. You got to feel good about your chances.
We feel excellent right now. We're just out there trying to stay with the lead teams. I think we can pretty well have it down to about 3 teams, us, Theta, and Teter. It's a duel right now. It's going back and forth, and it's we're racing, and it's nice to see that this year with the women's race. A lot of strong girls out there. Looks like Bree's about ready to pick it up a touch here and play a little cat and mouse. So we're excited about it. Hopefully we have enough at the end.
I know what you're hoping for. You don't want to see any breakaways. You're very content to ride with your competition, the other 2 teams. Who's going to be on the bike at the end? Have you made up your mind if it comes to a sprint finish?
Whoever's ready to go. We have 4 girls that are very solid across the board. However the rotation works out, that's where we're going with.
Not only a great bike racer in his time and a fine coach, but how about that? He doesn't want to reveal everything to us, guys. What do you think of that, Jack?
Oh, well, you never know if they've got a satellite and they're pulling down HDNet in another pit.
You know, I have to admit, our team director, Johan Bruniel, he was not only a master tactician.
There goes Nicole Vincent off the front for Kappa Alpha Theta. Go ahead.
So, but not only a master tactician, but also a master technician. In fact, he was known to have 3 or 4 different radios in the team car, so he could hear what the other teams were talking about.
Now, Jack, earlier we talked about what's an okay exchange and what's a great exchange. Well, Nicole Vincent right now has established what a great exchange is because she's coming off the front. She's established that gap. And what a smart set she just rode, because she sat in, she recovered, and now she had the energy to go in for an exchange.
All right, this is going to be an exchange of rider and bike. And Liz Milne gets on. And there go the Teter women and the Kappa Kappa Gamma team right on by, but as she gets the bike to speed, the gap's only about 30 yards.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see the Theta rider just get right back in there because she's got all those other riders kind of trailing behind. That's going to help her.
She's fresh, Dylan. You know, you got all that adrenaline right when you get your bike. She's ready to go. She can close that easily.
Delta Gamma, team number 14. Kappa Delta is another one that's up there.
Oh, that's a bike-to-bike. Really, you're supposed to touch the arm of the rider coming in. She doesn't, but that's okay. We'll hope the official didn't see that. She's going to get back up there with the leaders. There's Kappa Alpha Theta. They're up there.
Yep, they're right there. And again, the Delta Zeta rider is down a lap. That's the one in burgundy. And although riding with the leaders is not among them on the leaderboard. Kappa Gamma in green, Teter women in black, and Kappa Alpha Theta, the defending champions, wearing the yellow jersey. What's the conversation that's going on in the pack?
You know, I think, well, there's two races going on here. There's one race going for the lead, you know, for first place, and then the other girls, they're trying to salvage their race at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of collaboration happen here.
Yeah, for example, you see Delta Zeta, they're at least one lap down. The team in burgundy, the team number 5, they're smart enough to ride with the leaders. They know they don't want to lose any more laps, so they're smart enough to sit in.
It's a pretty long pull for Bree Kovac, the woman in black who's out in front, and she's expending the most energy of anybody in that lead pace line right now.
After winning missing out in ITT, she's proven that she's strong. To me, she doesn't need to prove anything here today by pulling. If you're her coach, you'd like her to maybe sit in on a wheel for a little bit.
Jersey of black leads them across.
All right, here's an interesting exchange on replay. The Cycledelics.
Team number 3, that's Kappa Alpha Theta.
Oops.
And team number 2.
And that's what happens when you have a little bit too much speed coming in. You have to, that last couple seconds, it's all about coasting, setting your brakes, right foot back, and getting ready to get off. She came in there hot.
Delta Gamma, team number 14. Let us give you now the official standings at 70 laps. In the lead, Kappa Alpha Theta.
73rd lap for the leaders right now. Kappa Gamma on the lead with Teter women and Kappa Alpha Theta right behind. And once again, they are working their way through riders who have been lapped.
A lap behind, Delta Zeta, team number 5.
It's Jessica Sapp riding in green for Kappa Gamma. It's still Bree Kovac out there for Teter women, and Liz Milne riding for Kappa Alpha Theta.
We might want to get Eddie down there in the pit with Teter again and ask the same question he asked to Bill Noss. Who's the sprinter for Teter right now? It looks to me like Bree's riding a lot of laps. You look for their second girl, Jessica Lindemann, to get on at the end.
Dylan, how much are the riders giving up by riding in running shoes instead of the rock-hard, immovable soles that are bike shoes?
Yeah, you know, it's a huge difference. I mean, in addition to just riding a bike that doesn't necessarily fit you perfectly because you're sharing it with 3 other riders, but you're in tennis shoes on flat pedals. So it's a huge difference to what we rode as professionals.
But Jason, can you run in bike shoes?
It's absolutely very tough to run in bike shoes. Some people try to wear mountain bike shoes, take the cleats off. It's tough because they're slipping around on those pedals, and eventually you have to get off running at full speed, so it helps to have those tennis shoes on.
All right, I think Bree Kovac's at the end here, and what an amazing engine she has to put this hammer down after such a long pull. But we see that the Teter women's pit has a rider out and ready to make an exchange. Kovac has really shown what she is made of. What an engine.
It's a great acceleration. This is a bike-to-bike, so to slow him down a little bit.
Mia Dragon is the new rider.
But still a good enough exchange where I think Mia get back there with the yellow team Theta and the green team Kappa Gamma, no problem. Great set, Bree.
All right, the gap right now is about 50 yards, not even, maybe 40.
And Jack, there comes a point in the race where you just want to eat up a lot of laps. The more exchanges you do, the more risk of something going wrong. You could see a chain come off, you could see an accident. So what Bree did for her team right there is just kind of take the bull by the horns and go out and do a big set.
What happens if your chain comes off 200 meters away from your pit?
Well, the mechanic has to get the bike and run across the infield with a new rider, touch that rider, and hop on with a fresh bike. It's detrimental.
So Kappa Alpha Theta moves into the lead.
Like in women's races past, we see this same teams dominate, and one of those teams is Kappa Kappa Gamma. They've won 3 times, coached by Bill Nosh. They have these exchanges down pat. There's nothing that's going to go wrong there. You see the new girl getting on the bike, no problem. Bill Nosh and his team of coaches have taught them well.
Paying the price a little bit. For Kappa Alpha Theta, Liz Milne putting the hammer down. We're going to get an exchange here. Milne comes in and hands it off. Catherine Beyer, the new rider here.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, Jack. That is Katie Beyer. And all these Theta girls, they have a great amount of experience. They have veterans around like Ann Holteroff to lead them, and they make sure that they're out racing their bikes all spring at collegiate events. They come in very well prepared.
Kappa Kappa Gamma in the lead, wearing the green. The pole winners get to wear green.
Our defending champions, Kappa Alpha Theta, they're chasing a little bit. They've won 4 times. So when you talk about a program, they're the established program in the women's race, and they're going to chase and catch right back up.
And it's the lead 3 with a lapped rider in between wearing the turquoise and black, but Beyer goes through on the inside. And the leader in black, the Teter women, Kappa Kappa Gamma in green and Kappa Alpha Theta in yellow. Mia Dragon ahead of Kelsey Cooper, I believe, for Kappa Kappa Gamma.
Alpha Gamma Delta with team change. Team number 2.
I'm incorrect. That's Jessica Sapp.
And you saw the girls there talking amongst each other as Teter comes in for an exchange.
Jessica Lindemann hops on the bike, and will they try to lose her? They got about a corner on her right now. It looks like it's about 70 yards.
And that was a slow exchange. We talked earlier about the bike exchange being a little bit slower. That was a bike exchange. And what helps is the Theta girl's fresh, the Kappa girl's fresh. They saw the exchange coming in and they're ready to go. So Teter pulled all those laps, but it's really not to their advantage right now as they're chasing.
Dylan Casey, you rode at the very highest level in the world. How long does it take a tech to fit a bike to you?
You know, it takes years really to get the bike to fit perfectly. And then once you get it down, you know, we usually spend a week or 2 before we get the bike to fit right at the beginning of the season. So it's really amazing that you have one bike for 4 riders.
And Jason, how long do they take to fit the bike to the riders in between shifts?
They have 2 bikes, so there's not a whole lot of options. I mean, inseams are different. You know, sometimes what you'll see is the mechanic might change the seat height in between sets, but because you have 2 to trade it off with. That's definitely one of the unique things about this race, and what really makes it great. You know, it started out in the initial rules in 1950. You could only have 1 bike, but now we have 2. Still teams of 4 out there competing, trying to win that trophy. What a tradition.
Allison Edwards is on for Kappa Kappa Gamma, and they gave up a little bit of a gap there to Kappa Alpha Theta and to the Teter women on the exchange. But Edwards is putting the hammer down, as her namesake in the booth never could do.
Team number 6, the Roadrunners.
Alpha Gamma Delta, the rider in pink, is down a lap.
So, Dylan, I'm interested to know, you've seen this race a couple times. You've seen the women's and the men's race. They both differ a little bit. This is your 2nd year here. What do you think the sprint is going to look like this year? Where do you think the rider might go? How's it going to shake out?
Well, you know, Jason, this race is so different than how it played out last year. I'm really kind of lost. I don't really know. I mean, this is a 3-rider race. There's no question about it. But, you know, you have 2 styles going down here. You've got the Teter women who are really trying to turn the screws and open up the throttle. Kappa is, you know, they're on the front too. And Theta is tucked in there on 3rd wheel like we've seen all day long. So if I had to call it now, I'm going with the yellow.
Defending champions. They have won more than anyone else with 4 times. You can see it happen. That's the great thing about this, Dylan. And there's really not much win today, but you gotta. A lot of times they say you gotta win before you hit turn 3. So I think what you'll see today is you'll see a battle for who can get to turn 3 the first. So those 3 teams that are left: Theta, Kappa, Kappa Gamma, and Teter.
Jason, you're absolutely right, because coming around turn 3 and turn 4. If you're trying to pass a rider in front of you, you got to go the long way, because the outside is longer than the inside when you're riding on the pole. So I really think the race on the last lap is for turn 3.
You're absolutely right. Your geometry teacher taught you something. Did you go to class?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
I did. Racing on the velodrome, we call that the pole line when you're down on the inside, because it's the fastest way around the track.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, 84 laps are on the board. They're on the 85th lap.
All right, 16 laps to go here. Allison Edwards of the green-clad Kappa Kappa Gamma team ahead with Kappa Alpha Theta in yellow second, and the Teter women wearing black in third.
Kappa Alpha Theta, fourth place. So 34 seconds behind.
And you see Corey Bitzer in pink there on the front. She's a lap down.
Yeah, she's on the wrong side of this breakaway now. It's really unfortunate because we saw her on the right side, but I think some bad tactics with the poorly timed exchange sees Corey now on the wrong side of that breakaway.
Well, they're going to use her engine a little bit and draft off of her. Everybody's pretty tight, and they're letting her take care of the wind resistance. This is HDNet's live coverage for the Women's Little 500 coming your way from the IU campus in Bloomington, Indiana. We'll be back for the climax of this great race right after this. It's the Little 500 from Bloomington, Indiana. Late stages of the women's race. They go 100 laps. It's just a shade over 25 miles on a track that is 410 meters long to accommodate the dynastic IU soccer program that Jerry Yeagley built. Kappa Alpha Theta, the defending champions, coming in for an exchange.
Oh, she's lost a lot of ground right here. You're going to see the rider getting on, trying to make up a lot of ground.
Yeah, it was a terrible exchange, too.
Liz Milne is seeing them go all the way around the corner. It's about 120 yards right now. Teter women leading Kappa Kappa Gamma.
Oh, and if you're Tom Schwegler in the Theta pit right now, that's not what you want to see. You don't want to see this straightaway of a gap to try to make up.
Followed by the Kappas.
With 10 laps to go, I don't want to say it's insurmountable, but it's close.
Well, you know, the Theta rider has to kind of count on the Kappa girl and the Teter girl doing a little cat and mouse. See, they're slowing down here. So that's going to give the Kappa rider a chance to catch back up.
And Dylan, as you know, I mean, why are they doing that?
Well, because they don't want to lead it out. You know, they're kind of like, neither one of them wants to take responsibility because we're 9 laps to go.
But Milne is really putting it down to try to make it up.
It's a two-man race, Dylan, and to me, or a two-woman race. And your odds are better with 2 than they are 3, so it makes absolute sense for the Kappa Kappa Gamma girls and Teter girls to go for it right now.
Allison Edwards of Kappa Kappa Gamma out in front, and Jessica Lindemann, who's been on the bike for a long time for Teter women, in second. Looks like Edwards is swinging wide, and we're going to see an exchange here as Lindemann goes right on by. This is Meredith Horner getting on the bike.
This is their only shot here. If she can catch up to Meredith, then she's back in the race.
And history tells us this is where the race is going to happen. Yeah. You see Teter off the front, Kappa in second, and Theta in third, and they're all kind of strung out. This is where the team that's going to win is going to make their move, and it looks to be the Teter right now.
Now Lindemann is really putting it down. She sees the opportunity, and she's got a 65-yard lead right now.
Jack, I'm looking down in the pit, and I think Teter's going to do an exchange right here.
But they're not giving it to Brie Kovac. Jack, let's see if we can see who they're going to give the bike to. This is a very crucial exchange. If she can keep this gap and go with it, they're going to go off the front, just like Phi Delta did in 1996.
I think it's Katie Douglas.
There's Kappa. Kappa just went by. Kappa's in the lead now.
Teter women and the Thetas, those are your top 3. Alpha Gamma Delta riding in 4th.
The Kappa girl looks to be very strong on that backstretch right now. This is a great thing about Little 5. It's so unpredictable.
So Kappa Kappa Gamma in the lead, with Teter women trying to make up the gap.
And that's Meredith Horner on the bike. I think all the Kappa girls are back from last year. Meredith has a lot of experience, and I think she knows right now that she's making the race, but there comes Teter coming around on the outside. Teter's right back in it, Dylan. They're not going anywhere.
That's a smart move by Teter also, because not only are they throwing down the hammer, but they're making it more difficult for the Theta rider to catch up, who almost made it back up there, but now the gap is growing.
And who have we said that's one of the strongest girls in the pack? It's Brie Kovac for Teter. She's in the pit getting ready to pick up the bike. This is going to be interesting to see what happens with only 6 laps to go.
6 laps to go on a track that's just a shade over a quarter mile long. Fully spent. Katie Douglas comes in after a terrific ride and makes a pretty clean exchange. Kovac's on the bike. She was a horse early, but Kappa Kappa Gamma is in the lead. Teter women second, Kappa Alpha Theta third. And Vincent is on the bike for Kappa Alpha Theta.
I'd love to see this be a 3-rider sprint. Unfortunately, Jack, I think it's going to be 2. Nicole's got a lot of work to do to close up. And you're going to see, I think you're going to see Jessica Sapp get on the bike for Kappa Kappa Gamma. They're going to come in for an exchange right now. These are your leaders. Team number 1, Kappa Kappa Gamma in green. And the thread is Bree Kovac in blacks, just booking by him. And Teter's on the inside track. They have a lead.
She goes right on by. Jessica Sapp is on the bike for Kappa Kappa Gamma.
And Bree's not getting off. She won individual time trials for a reason. She's got her head down and she's just going to be moving.
She's got a mile to go and she's putting the hammer down. Bree Kovac. This is her 4th Little 500.
She won missing out. She won individual time trial. Right now it's a question if she can drop Jessica Sapp, who's trying to close up that gap.
Such is the stuff of which Hall of Famers are made at the Little 500. Bree Kovac has a 30-yard lead on Kappa Kappa Gamma's rider.
And Dylan, the great thing about this, you're going to see 2 riders that are totally spent.
They're so pinned
and
right now.
They're going to pull back together, and we're going to see them sprint.
Here comes Sapp. She's 15 yards behind.
She's closing the gap.
Kovac rode very, very hard early. It's down to 10 yards. Kovac's hitting the wall here.
I think Sapp's got a little something. We'll see who wants to sit on. This is going to be like a track finish,
she's
Dylan.
Right on her wheel.
3 laps to go.
And down comes the
this
pace.
Is beautiful.
Meanwhile, can Kappa Alpha Theta make up the 120 yards? Probably too much, too late.
You see him looking.
Yeah.
You saw her turn around looking. Where is Theta? Yeah. Theta's not going to catch up if they just hold a little bit of a pace.
The rider in green for Kappa Kappa Gamma, Jessica Sapp, the pole winners. The rider in black, Bree Kovac for Teter women. Now we saw Kovac hit a wall earlier and slow down. Was she slowing down on purpose? Is she saving something for this last lap?
I think she realized that she wasn't going to be able to get away from the Kappa rider, so she decided to turn it off a little bit. And the great thing is she's forced the Kappa rider to the front in the first lap with 1 lap to go, So now she's in perfect position.
The white flag is out. Here they come to the start-finish line, 410 meters to go. Kappa Kappa Gamma in green, Teter in black. It's Sapp for Kappa Kappa Gamma, and it is Kovac for the Teter women.
I think you're going to see Bree explode out of this second turn.
This is where you said the race was going to be run right here. They're going into traffic, though. Kovac tries to put it down.
She needs to pass her if it's going to happen.
Sapp has the inside, and she's answering. They are blowing by the pack. Sapp trying to hold the inside line. Kovac so strong, but she's losing inches here, going the long way. Kovac down the stretch. It's wheel for wheel. And
photo.
I think Sapp had her by about a rim. I think Kappa Kappa Gamma has won it, but they'll have to go photo.
And did you see the hook there in the last 10 meters before the finish line? That was the race move right there.
She took her outside. Absolutely, that's a hook. She was taking the longer.
Oh, this is down to the photo.
We're watching now for the 4th place team. It's shaping up for the battle.
I think it is by a rim.
That is
close.
I think Teter got it. I think Teter got it.
Teter got it. I can't believe it.
See
she
that little
won it
hook
out of
there?
turn 4. Years of training right there. She's on top of the pedals, up in the saddle, right where you need to be.
That's not the line. That is. Oh.
It's close.
Boy.
25 miles, Jack, and it comes down to that, inches.
It's the Little 500. Now they're celebrating in the Kappa Kappa Gamma pits. They think it's theirs.
They should.
One more time. Well, one frame at a time as we look at it. That is just almost impossible.
You can see the checkered flag there. They're going after it.
But this isn't a good angle. We're not looking straight across the line. We're not going to be able to be conclusive there, but I think by a rim. It is Kappa Kappa Gamma. What an incredible finish.
You know, I know for sure that if the Kappa rider hadn't have thrown an elbow there in the last 10 meters, the Teter rider would have won for sure, but, you know, that's how it plays out.
It would have been different. We'll see how the officials call in the infield.
Yeah, Jason, so do the same rules apply as in road racing?
The same rules do apply.
Last 200 meters, if you vary from your line, you can get disqualified.
We've seen it done before. They're very unlikely to disqualify Kappa Kappa Gamma. You don't want to see that happen.
There it is, right there. Sends her a little bit wide and kind of, you know, she has to slow down a little bit, otherwise she's going to crash.
Dylan, how hard is this to do without the toe clip pedals where you're attached, literally attached to the bike?
Yeah, it's really hard because, you know, when the toe clips, not only are they more efficient, but they kind of hold you on the bike a little bit. So it's a totally different ball game with tennis shoes and flat pedals. But look at the Kappa girls, they're excited.
It's official. Kappa Kappa Gamma has won the 2004 Women's Little 500. And gents, a little personal observation here. This is my first time. Man, how good is this?
You see you see mutilation in the Kappa Kappa Gamma's pit, and you also see Brie Kovac, who had a great career as a little 500 rider. She's there, she knows it's all coming to a close. It was quite a performance. The thing that really amazes me are these are two girls that you saw in the finals of Missing Out duke it out. In Missing Out, which was about a month ago, Brie Kovac won the sprint. Today, Jessica Sapp won the sprint. Let's go down to Eddie in the infield, see what he has to say.
Wow, it is noisy here. I don't think it gets any noisier at the Indianapolis 500 Speedway. And Jessica Sapp, what a strategic race. It was a very fast one all day. You won by the slightest of margins. Describe the final couple of laps.
The last couple laps were really slow, but my strategy was not to pull out until like right at the end, and it was just God blessed me all the way to the end, so
It was a 3-horse race for the second half of the race. A lot of strategizing. Is there any talking going on the bike like, hey, why don't you take the pace or not?
A little bit. We don't want to pull the whole time because that wears us out, so we want other teams to take the pole too, and that was, I think the three of us had the same strategy working, like not to pull the whole time, so we kind of worked together pretty well, I think.
Your feelings, final thoughts on this is what you worked for so many, many months. How's it feel?
Amazing.
There you have it. Kappa Kappa Gamma, the champions of the 2004 Women's Little 500. And fellas up there, that was a chess match for the second half of the bike race. Back to you guys.
Tremendous stuff, Eddie Van Geist. Thank you very much, and well done by Jessica Sapp, winning by as small a margin as you're ever going to see in a bike race. Dylan Casey, you've been all over the world riding a bike, but this is a scene that you don't see repeated too often.
Yeah, that's for sure. I can't tell you how many bike races I won and then got trounced by 50 incredibly attractive college women. This is something to be said. Is it too late to go back to school?
We'll try to find you some eligibility.
You don't see the winner of a crit in Peoria with this kind of celebration, do you? I think this is pretty unique to Bloomington here today in April.
Yeah, well, you know, I think it's important to recognize, you know, not just the victory here in the race, but how much preparation these girls go into. That's the thing that I was totally blown away by. And not only the preparation in the race itself, but look at how much support they have.
I just really knew that I'd give it all I got. My legs hurt, but I knew that I could do it. So, and I knew that Jess could do it too at the end. So it was an awesome race. I wasn't expecting this.
Congratulations, and congratulations to Kappa Kappa Gamma.
Ladies and gentlemen, here now your unofficial top 10 for the 17 Women's Little 500.
It was a great afternoon of riding, and Brie Kovac ought to be tremendously proud. She was right there at the finish after riding yeoman's laps in the early part of the race. And, you know, you can second guess it all you want, but if not for her early effort, Teter women aren't where they were to have a chance to win coming into the final two turns.
Team number 4.
We'll be back to wrap it up in Bloomington, Indiana. What an exciting day it's been on HDNet Sports. And don't forget, we got tomorrow's race as the men go at it for 200 laps. The women take front and center. Kappa Kappa Gamma, the champs in 2004. We'll be back to wrap it up. Kappa Kappa Gamma gets its hands on the replica of the Borg Warner Trophy as champions of the women's Little 500 for 2004 at Indiana University. Turned into a two-team race between Kappa Kappa Gamma and the Teter women. Kappa Alpha Theta was the defending champion, but a little bit of misaligned strategy finished off with a disastrous exchange, spelled the end of their day. And we go back and take a look at the dramatic final few laps and how it unfolded. Very early in the race, it was clear that it was going to be a three-team race between Kappa Alpha Theta wearing the yellow, Kappa Kappa Gamma in green, and the Teter women in black. But this is what happened to Kappa Alpha Theta.
And we talked about it all day, Jack. You want to have a quick exchange, and that's not an example of a quick exchange. In fact, that's an illegal exchange because she's not touching the arm of the girl coming in on the bike. And Dylan, this is something we continue to talk about. You want to come in off the front of the other two girls and not off the back. She came in off the back, and it cost them the race.
That's right.
Now here are the final few laps. Teter in black and Kappa Kappa Gamma in green. The riders, Jessica Sapp for Kappa Kappa Gamma and Bree Kovac for Teter.
So, Jack, we see Jessica looking over her shoulder. She wants to see where the Theta rider is so she can kind of figure out, well, okay, can I cat and mouse a little bit, or do I need to worry about the Theta rider coming up from behind? And once they've established, okay, well, we have a large enough gap, it's just going to be the two of us, then it gets down to the strategy for the last lap.
And just like we saw last year, Dylan, we saw John Grant. Well, in the women's race, we saw Nicole Vincent come in past the other rider on the backstretch. This year, we see a girl winning it from the front. It's really unpredictable. You don't know what the best approach to take is. You see Jessica kind of looking around, wanting to know where Bree is. She's going to come across the line. I think this might be one lap to go here.
Yeah. You know, the mistake of the Teter rider is that, look, she's riding not only in second position, but she's also on the outside, the longer way around the track. So she's not getting any drafting benefit, and she's taking the long way. If I were her, I would have sat on the back and maybe come off maybe 2 or 3 feet and take a run at her and go right over the top before you hit turn 3, because here we're already sprinting, and she's taking the long way. So it's hard. She's getting no draft, and she's taking the long way, and we saw what the outcome was.
And coaches teach her right here. Jessica's thinking, I'm going to push her out to the outside as much as I can, make the longest distance for her.
In that final lap for the Teter women rider, it was probably 412, 413 meters as opposed to about 411 or maybe 412 for the Kappa Kappa Gamma rider. Could have been the difference. In fairness to Kovac, the Teter rider going down the backstretch, they were picking their way through a lot of slow traffic. And it wasn't as if she had free rein and could have picked her spot on the track. She had to aim it carefully, as there were gassed riders who were much slower, and they were just flying through them.
Yeah, it's true. You know, you really have to pay attention to not only what's happening in front of you, but all of these riders are all over the place doing exchanges. Some of them are tired, and especially you see towards the end of the race, the fatigue really sets in. And you know, we were watching some of the girls fall down as they were doing exchanges because they're just so exhausted.
So Dylan Casey, as a guy who one of only 3 in U.S. history to be a track champion and a road champion in the same year, we kind of saw all of those things come to a single point here. That was really track strategy after a road race type effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really incredible, unique thing about the Little 500 is it just brings all of these different aspects of bike racing together, and it's unique event, and really it's something that I've never seen before. It's really unique.
Jason, what is it going to mean to these riders from Kappa Kappa Gamma who won it, who are taking their beautiful victory lap right now that'll live forever in their memory? What's it going to mean to them?
Well, it means an awful lot to them. As a program, now they're tied for the most wins among the women's teams. They have 4 wins, so they're tied with Kappa Alpha Theta. As a house, it means a tremendous amount. They're going to have more alumni support coming in this year, more money, a great recruiting class next year. It's got to be a moment of a lifetime for these young women.
They may never have to buy another beer in Bloomington, Indiana for the rest of their lives after what they did in the last hour and a half. Let's look ahead to tomorrow. Eddie Van Geitz is downstairs.
Well, you talked about characters, and the characters known as the Cutters, well, they've won the race 6 times, and their great coach is Jimmy Kirkham. And Jimmy, they're saying your team's very strong. The last time you won it in 2000, you lapped the field. How's this team compare with that great team?
We have a great group of guys, and they're all dedicated to being the best they can be, and I'd say they're very comparable to that group of guys.
I'll tell you, Red here's quite a coach, and watch the cutters tomorrow, fellas. They are going to be tough.
Now we're looking forward to a live coverage on HDNet. Gents, you got a line apiece. Still in you first.
You know, I just hope that tomorrow is as exciting as today was. It was a fantastic race.
It's going to be a blast. Simeon's the best sprinter on Team Major Taylor, and the Cutters are the strongest team in my eyes. You're going to see a great race tomorrow.
Look at this throng, though. The champions from Kappa Kappa Gamma, Kelsey Cooper, Allison Edwards, Meredith Horner, Jessica Sapp. They are big women on campus for the rest of their lives. The executive producer of HDNet Sports is Daryl Ewald, who also produced today's coverage of the women's Little 500. Our director, Kent Samuel. For Jason Sonneborn, Eddie Van Geis, and Dylan Casey, and our entire HDNet crew, I'm Jack Edwards. Thanks for joining us from Bloomington, Indiana. We will see you tomorrow for another thrilling day of cycling.
Where are you right now? 8th place for Cycledelics, team number 17.